Hi, and welcome to another wise and virtuous moment with Cynthia, aka Denise. And today I just want to talk for a few minutes to you about being prepared for God's glory to flow through. Being prepared for God's glory to flow through you. In order for us to perform miracles, signs, and wonders in these last days, we need to be a vessel that is emptied of ourselves, emptied of pride, emptied of envy, strife, emptied of everything, and willing and open to the Lord to allow Him to fill us with Himself. We need to be a vessel that is pliable in His hands, where we're easily moldable and shaped into whatever He needs at any given moment. And in Daniel chapter 1, we see where Daniel, he abstained from the food that the king was offering him. Now, this was choice foods. These were foods that were found only on the king's table. So I'm sure it was very tasty and probably looked very delicious to Daniel. But Daniel knew that in order for him to be strong and to be of a sound mind and to be able to perform any task that was asked of him at any given moment, he needed to be sharp and he needed to be ready and prepared to do that. And he knew that eating that food, which had been offered to false gods, it was leftover foods that had been offered as sacrifices to false gods. And Daniel knew that would contaminate him. And so he abstained from those foods. And as believers, we have an inner witness that tells us and instructs us and gives us wisdom and helps to save us at any given moment in any situation of danger or harm, or simply where God is telling us that He needs to use us over here for this instead of over there for that. And so I want you to do this and not do that. Whenever God gives us those instructions and those that type of wisdom, we need to listen. We need to heed to what He is saying. We need to be of a quiet mind in our spirits and listening intently to what He's saying, because there are times when that wisdom and those instructions are going to save our life. They're going to save our life. And so we need to be prepared at any given moment for God to use us in whatever way and capacity He needs to. And I know one of the biggest obstacles, I believe, for us as a human race is overcoming that spirit of greed, the spirit of gluttony, and even that is a spirit of lust in many cases. But I find that is one of the hardest things for us to do, is to abstain from something that we've been eating all our lives. We've been enjoying it. It's filled us up. But it was not necessarily the best thing for us and the most nutritional thing for us to put in our bodies. And God, He knows this. And because He is omniscient, He knows and sees all things. He knows the end from the beginning. He knew that Daniel could not partake of those contaminated foods, and that he needed to be strong and alert and we need to trust God first and foremost in our lives, in everything. Because we never know when it's just going to be us, and we have to make a decision in which we have maybe no idea how to make what the right or the best or the wisest decision would be in that situation, and there's no one around to ask. And so we've got to know, and we've got to trust that what we hear in our spirits, the voice of God speaking, we got to know that that's him, and that's him leading us and him guiding us. See, God will lead us. He will lead the way for us every step of the way if we allow him to, if we acknowledge him, the word tells us. If we acknowledge him in all of our ways, he'll direct our paths, Proverbs 3. And God, he leads us. He leads the way for us. And he doesn't lead us astray. Man does that. And so we should not ignore that still small voice that we hear when God is instructing us and giving us wisdom to do a certain thing, to say or go a certain place, or not to. Or in this case, to eat a certain thing or not to eat. God, he sees everything, and he knows the danger ahead if we partake of that he says not to partake of. And so God, he desires that we be a vessel that is pure. He desires that we be a vessel that he can flow through. And he can't flow through if we are bogged and clogged up with all kinds of mess inside of us, in the physical as well as in the spiritual sense. He can't flow through us if we have all kinds of sin in our life, if we are allowing ourselves to let go of ourselves, I should say, and not take care of our physical bodies and eat right and those things that are good and healthy for us. Daniel, he knew that he couldn't partake of the food that the king offered. And so what he did was he said, let me have that which is going to be nourishment to my body, vegetables and water. Vegetables and water. He knew that would help him to maintain strength and alertness. And so he chose to abstain from that which was good and tasty. He chose to abstain from all of that. And in this case, he chose to abstain from that which was contaminated. In some cases, we don't even know in our lives in the natural realm when we go somewhere and there's food and it's being served to us. We don't know whether or not it is contaminated, unfortunately, until after the fact, until we've eaten it and we've maybe gotten food poisoning, and or something else more serious. And so we need the Lord's instruction. We need his wisdom and his guidance in every situation in our lives, especially when we're taking in something to our body that can harm us. We need the wisdom of God. Man's wisdom is not going to do it. Man's wisdom is not going to do it. In this day and age, we have too many minds that are being controlled by the enemy. And they have plans, they have schemes,